say something?
Ready? Okay. Hello. Hello, hello. I'll start singing soon if we don't get quiet. Hello. Can we get started? We have someone to celebrate tonight. I'd like to make sure everybody can take part in that. So I know we're very anxious to get to the festivities, but we will, will we do this first?
Yep.
We will go ahead and start our evening with the Pledge of Allegiance for those that can stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We do have a quorum here, so I will call the meeting to order. Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilden. Before we get into the heart of the agenda, we do like to make sure and review our mission, vision, and core values each board meeting. The vision for our school corporation is to be the choice to learn, work, and play. And our mission is we develop expert learners by partnering with our community to invest in people. Our 6 core beliefs: we all can rise to the challenge of high expectations. Learning is most effective when we have choice, flexibility, and see relevance. We thrive when our physical, social, and psychological needs are met. Our community and school district are stronger when we partner with one another. We flourish because of the diversity and variability in our community, and our democracy and democratic institutions are strengthened by civic-minded citizens. With that, I can keep on going, Mrs. Wilden. We have a great crowd of people here tonight, so thank you for being here on a Monday, February the 5th. The first thing that we're going to jump into is our 2024 Education Hall of Fame Award. And before getting into our recognition of Mrs. Watts, I do want to call our attention to the selection committee who participates in this annual event to make sure we find the greatest that has been a part of our school corporation, and we get a chance to celebrate them. So Mr. Schultz, Logan Schultz, school board member appointment to that committee and was our chair for the committee. Anybody else in the audience who was on that committee? I know Mr. Perkinson, I saw you earlier. Please stand if you're on the committee for that. Larry's standing, but it's kind of behind some people back there. So Perk, thanks as always, and anybody else who is participating in that group. We appreciate the effort to, again, choose this recipient. So we are here tonight to celebrate Mrs. Sandy Watts. The Education Hall of Fame Award is given to teachers, former teachers, or administrators who have made a noteworthy and extraordinary employment contribution to the Bartholomew Consolidated School Corporation, which merits recognition for excellence, and we certainly believe that Mrs. Watts has done that. I do want to thank Brad. Brad Davis is in the front here with the Republic. Very good article, Brad, that you did on Mrs. Watts. Great picture, Sandy on the front page, and Mike Woolen always does a nice job of getting the photos and things. So thanks to the Republic for their coverage. At this point, I'm going to bring Mrs. Watts up to the podium. So Sandy, I hope you have a presentation or a speech or whatever you're going to give to us here. Maybe a lesson plan? Okay, before we have Sandy speak to us, I do want to read the plaque from our 2024 Education Hall of Fame Award. And just a reminder, or maybe new information if you've not heard this before, but anytime we give an Education Hall of Fame Award away or to the proper recipient, we have 2 plaques. And one will go wherever that person wants to put it, and one will come to our place. And so we make sure that we recognize the individual here in this building as well. So the 2024 Education Hall of Fame Award is presented to Mrs. Sandy Watts. And what we always do is make sure to take quotes from the letters of recommendation that we receive. And so on this particular one, we have tireless leader for education, can-do spirit, The community is her extended classroom. And I think in that article, Brad, it said something about they're my kids, right? Approachable and engaging. Master teacher. Keen understanding of individual student needs. Community advocate and activist. Builds teams to make the community a better place. The ownership she demonstrates for each student is unmatched, committed to helping her students reach their full potential. So it's great pride that as a representative for our school corporation, I present this Hall of Fame award to Sandy Watts.
I'm not shaking, you're shaking. Thank you. I am so humbled to receive this award. I know of all the amazing people that preceded me. They set the bar high, and it's an honor to be in their company. First, I want to thank my husband, Dave. He's back there in the cheap seat. Well, he's actually standing. We've been married for 51 and a half years.
Wow.
I know, I was young. We were young, dumb, broke, but we were in love. Evidently it worked because we're still together. He's the reason we're here. We've always been a team. I know you all recognize him. He's the guy that be rototillering the garden at the school for the school garden. He's the guy that went to hundreds of activities, not just for our own kids, but for all your kids. He loved the dance recitals, especially when they were 3 hours, by the way. He really liked the sports events, I've got to say. Aiden, you're out there, you know that. There's a song, it's called, He's One of the Good Ones. Well, I have one of the best ones. When I retired, he thought, oh, the honey-do list is going to end, for school at least. Well, Kathy Dell called me and said, would you choreograph Annie? We need you to do that. I bet you didn't know I'm a tap dancer. Neither did anybody in the halls of the school. But he ended up building all the beds for the orphans and doing the backdrops. He also, for years, as you know, because a lot of you do this, we collect plastic caps for recycling to get furniture around the community. And I came up with a bright idea that we ought to collect them and coordinate it with Parkside Elementary and First United Methodist Church. This community, in less than 6 months, had 1,500 pounds of caps. They overtook our garage. We couldn't get our cars in. So Elwood staffing came to the rescue, and they gave us a place to store them. Unfortunately, it was upstairs. You know what it's like carrying 1,500 pounds upstairs? Yeah, I may be calling on you guys the next time. So then we took them back to Parkside, and around 130 kids helped us sort them. The teachers helped sort. Leighton and Sheila Turner, who I can always depend on, Linda Young, and Janice Montgomery all came to sort, and we weighed them all as well and loaded them up in a truck that Driftwood Builders donated for us. That's what this community is. So thank you, honey. I love you. And the honey-do list is going to continue, sorry. And then I want to thank our kids. Jennifer and Michael. Jennifer flew in from Washington, D.C. She owns Very Creative. She has a great husband, Sean. We have 2 perfect grandchildren. Connor is 8. Becca just turned 5. They aren't here because they're busy attending public school, and they know I don't want them to miss school. So they are not here. I also want to recognize our son, Michael. He's a civil engineer for Pure Development in Indianapolis. He's here with our soon-to-be daughter, Lindsay, his fiance. So we're thrilled that we can be here. They can be here. I tell you what about them, they always knew they were first, but they always knew that my students were my kids too. They knew that, and they were never jealous. They donated so many hours to me and my classroom and the schools I taught at. They were amazing. We were at Taylorsville School one time late at night, like on a Saturday night, and we kept the lights dim. So Dave's working in my classroom, surprise, and we go down to the library. When we're at the library, I'm reaching up to get books, I'm going down to get books. And there's, you know the song Stuck Like Glue? They were stuck to me like glue. It was really dark in there. Have you ever been in a big building where it's all dark? It's kind of creepy. It's kind of, they were scared. Fortunately, I didn't traumatize them too much. They kept volunteering. We love you so much, not only your achievements, but the way you love and care about others. That's a special gift. So thank you. It's really special them being here. Next, I need to say my dad, and I hope I get through this. He passed away 36 and a half years ago from ALS. He was the youngest of 6 children. As soon as he graduated from high school, he was drafted into the military. He was in the infantry in the Philippines where he acquired malaria. He came back, fortunately the GI Bill. He went to school on that GI Bill while being in and out of hospital because of the severe malaria that he was suffering from. When he graduated, he became a basketball coach and a high school teacher at Aurora High School. Then he went on to Emerson Elementary in Seymour for 30 years. And also he owned a small business. I'll never forget when he got ready to retire, his eyes teared up and he said, "Sandy, I'm gonna miss the kids. I'm gonna miss the staff. I'm gonna miss the parents." Well, he taught me 2 great lessons, to love education and to love people. What a blessing that is. Next, I must thank staff. You see, that has my name on it, but it belongs to all of you. It wouldn't be possible without all of us working together. So the part with my name on it, and maybe a few of the adjectives, that's my part. You get all the rest. Well, I graduated in January of 1980. When you graduate, you take and substitute teach. I substitute taught at Smith Elementary School. Larry Brock was the principal. He came in and he said, I'll never forget this, "Mrs. Watts, I need to see you immediately in my office after school." Oh my gosh, I just started and I'm called to the principal's office. What did I do already? So I go in there and he goes, "I've got a 1st grade opening. I'd like you to take it for the rest of the semester." It was Mrs. Watts from Mrs. Watts, but we weren't related. So I was in 1st grade. That was really special. So I wanted to meet the children ahead of time. So I came in early so they'd adjust before their teacher had to leave. And this little guy, I'll never forget, he jumps out of his seat. He's a toddler size, and he's running at me as fast as he can. His arms are outstretched, and tears are streaming down his face. He said, "Mrs. Watts, I knew you'd find me. I just knew you'd find me." Well, I dropped to my knees, and we're hugging and both crying. You see, I student taught with Janice Sell at Taylorsville in 1st grade. All of you that knew Janice, she's one of the world's classiest ladies. But not only was she one of the classiest, she was one of the best mentors in the world. She taught me to believe in myself. I'd never believed in myself before. What a gift. And that little guy was in her classroom. And he told us about the severe abuse he was suffering from. And he had the scars. And he didn't even realize what was happening. So that was a God wink moment. God just told me, "You're supposed to be a teacher, and you're supposed to be with Eddie the rest of the year." What a blessing that was. So now I'm out of a job again. Oh my goodness. After all that, I'm out of a job. I get a call from Pete Orlich, and the interview went great, I thought. Then he said, "Sandy, you have anything else to share?" And I go, "I'm 4 months pregnant." He said, "Excuse me?" I go, "Well, I told Dave I wanted a baby for graduation." And I actually had a miscarriage while I was student teaching. And our Jennifer, who's been our photographer, that's that baby. Well, amazingly, Pete hired me anyway. That was amazing back then, in the old days. So I had the blessing to get hired and teach with Betty Everett. I bet a lot of you know her. She had taught for years, and then she got stuck with 3 rookies. myself, Becky Williams, and Glenn Brown. Oh my gosh, Becky's over there. And we spent a lot of nights together, didn't we, Becky? We kind of lived at school, you might say. Well, it was amazing there. Those parents at Fodred threw me a surprise baby shower. And I just come, and they do this for me. The kids would beg to stay after school, and I'd let them if their parents approved, and I'd drive them home. In the old days, you could do that. How special. So I was there for 4 years, and it was great there, but my heart kind of belonged to Taylorsville, because that's where I student taught. The song, We Are Family, that's Taylorsville Elementary School, because it was a family atmosphere. Oh my gosh, we had hay rides. We had where we'd roast hot dogs on pitchforks. They told me they were sanitized. I'm not so sure. When I got there, I was with Mary Helen Espenlaub, and I was with Jean McClellan. She'd grown up with my dad. As they retired, I was with Kathy Colvin, Brenda Christoffel, and Janice Waltemeyer. And later on, I was with Amber Elwood. She'd been my student teacher. How about, that's pretty cool, isn't it? So also, Mary Jane Perry was there. She was a music teacher. Everybody knows Mary Jane Perry. I was now teaching with her. She had taught for my dad, and she had taught me. So what a great experience. Bev Brown was there, and she would help with all our crazy ideas that we decided to do. Often I had whole families. If they had 2 kids, I had all 2 kids. My 3 sons are here, I think, tonight, the Richardson family, Carol and Steve. I had all 3 of their boys. The last one was Matt, and I said, I'm gonna miss them so much. They volunteered, they were so supportive. What am I gonna do without you guys? Well, on down the road at an open house, here they come in with a little bundle. And Carol looks at me, right, Carol? And she said, we did this just for you. Okay. I was kind of dumbstruck, which comes easy for me at times. And then she just burst out laughing. And she goes, actually, we borrowed the neighbor's little boy. We wanted to pull a trick on you. That's what family's about. Well, one of the things that created the family was John Quick. John Quick was our principal, and he came to our room almost every day, not to check on us, but to support us. He would, if you'd whisper, wow, this child did great, he was over there going, way to go. If you were having issues, he was over there discreetly redirecting. What a gift that was. That was special. Peggy Lawson was my TA there. She took work home. Pat knew her. We'd tell her not to take work home. I mean, she made the big bucks, you know that? And we just thought it wasn't fair for her to be working all this overtime. But unfortunately, John decided he wanted to go to greener pastures. Now, you know he's a horseman, but you think horsing around. Anyway, no, he became a superintendent, and we became a revolving door. A bunch of the Taylorsville teachers were just at our home, and we couldn't keep track of all the principals that we had. They divided our teams up, they made us move to different rooms, and teachers started retiring. So I decided to go right out that revolving door too. And I went to Parkside. What a special place that was. I see a lot of my students here, and that tears me up. I taught with Jolynn Bodkins. I taught with Debbie Brower and Sabrina Rawlings. While I was there teaching with them, I had and I lost my notes, I had with them Michelle Payne, Sylvia Smith, Leslie Jones, and Colleen Rogowski. Rotate around as TAs. Now, Colleen Rogowski, she got desperate to get away from me. She moved to China. That's pretty desperate. No, seriously, she did move to China. But fortunately, she came back and we ate together about every week. So that was pretty special. While I was there, we adopted Atterbury. My classroom did. We would put on shows. We collected toiletry items, remember that? We coordinate throughout the building. We collected thousands and thousands of toiletry items. We did a service project called Putting You in the USO. I'd arrive at school at 7. The parents, and now I want to thank the parents. They were there for us. They would come in, we'd have the USO canteen at school. and we would feed the students. Then we would have them put on their antlers and their candy cane hats and all the elf hats in the ears, the whole bit, and their Parkside shirts, of course. They were all decked out. We even had Elvis was in the room one year. He had on the white, one-piece jumpsuit. I know you're all looking at Dr. Roberts. It wasn't him. It was Ryan Clulo. He stood about this tall. But it was a lot of fun. So we'd load those buses, or the cars up, 26 of them. Can you imagine? All these parents with their kids in the car, and we're trying to get through security at Camp Atterbury. Thank you, Teresa Heine. She started giving us a bus. So things went a lot smoother. So we're up at Camp Atterbury, and we didn't just sing about Christmas. We sang about Kwanzaa and Hanukkah. We heard one of the soldiers, and she's dancing and singing the dreidel song. And another soldier says, "How do you know that?" "Well, I'm Jewish. That's why." An elderly man walked up to Dave. Now he doesn't seem so elderly, does he, honey? He walked up to Dave and he goes, "Do you know this teacher?" And he admitted, "Yeah, I know her. She's my wife." And he said, "Well, give her this." And he had a whole wad of bills. He tried to stick them in Dave's pocket. And Dave said, "No." And he goes, "This is for those kids. This is for her classroom." And Dave goes, "I can't take that. I just can't take it. Sandy will be so mad at me because she wants the children to learn to give and to respect the soldiers." Nope, you don't understand. You see, I lost my wife quite a while back. I'm here at Atterbury to help me, to be with these soldiers. I haven't smiled for a really, really long time. Tonight I smiled, and it was all because of those kids. When I was at Parkside, I had parents from all over the world. How special is that? And I would hear them talking to their students, my kids, well, their kids too. And they would say, "Oh my gosh, look at all these soldiers. This is what freedom is about. This is why we have freedom here. And this is why we want to live in America." What a great lesson. We also, one time, it was really rough. I was there on December 14th with my kids. Think about that date, December 14th. If you're a teacher, you'll never forget that date. That was Sandy Hook. So I'm with the kids I get to school at 7. They don't depart till around 8:30 because we put on 3 shows. They were exhausted by the time we headed out. 3 shows. We're at Applebee's eating because I was too nervous to eat all day. And I see it on the TV screens. And I go to Dave, "Dave, what's going on?" I didn't know. I was with my kids. And he told me 20 first and second graders were gone, were murdered in their classroom, and 6 staff members. We had had great joy that day, and I lost it. I totally lost it. And I couldn't stop crying. I just couldn't. And I bet a lot of you lost it on that day. And I find I'm still losing it, unfortunately, because it's still happening. So Dave and I are part of the Be Smart initiative, which is just about safe gun storage. It's a small thing, but maybe it'll help. So thank you, parents. Thank you. Thank you, staff, for trusting me. Now, I want to say thank you, parents, again, because I didn't realize how trusting you were. You gave me your most precious, what you value the most, and you trusted me, you respected me, you gave of yourself. I'd have volunteers, and a lot of them are here, every single day in my classroom. Beth Hagley wouldn't give it up. She volunteered for years in my classroom, and she still brings me food. I mean, wow. So when they finished, they'd come up and say, "Can we still volunteer in your classroom?" Grandparents and parents, and I go, "Well, yeah, that'd be great." But I also, with Dave's help, had thousands of books in my classroom. They range from pre-primer through high school. Believe it or not, I had students in pre-primer and high school in the same year in my classroom, and I need to meet every child's needs. I needed all those books. I read to them, they read them, the students checked them out. Parents would say, "Oh, our kids love this book, can we check it out?" Well, sure. They'd check out books. Thank you. You trusted me. You believed in me. You respected me and my choices. You let me teach. I didn't realize how special that was until the last 2 years. That respect and that trust let me teach. How special is that? Well, next, I need to thank my students, my kids. They'll always be my kids. They taught me so much, and they gave so much. One time, I had a student, Max, and he walked up and he goes, "Do you know the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands?" And just like that. And I said, "I sure do, Max." And he goes, "Well, can we sing it?" And I go, "Well," and before I could say any more, he goes, "But we've got the whole world in our class." We had 15 students from other countries, their parents, in my classroom. I want to sing "We've Got the Whole World in Our Class," and we did. We'd sing, "We've got the whole world in our class. We got China and Mexico. In our class, we've got India and South Korea. In our class," well, you got it. We sang it all over town. We sang it at Parkside Court. And you know, those are kind of elderly people, older than me. And they not only sang it with us, they would stand up and cheer for the countries they were from, as the children stood up for the countries that their family was from. We were learning social and emotional learning. We were learning diversity, equity, and inclusion before it was called that. That's just what you do. That's what makes us all better. And these children were a perfect example. The other thing we did was called the Holiday Train. Thank you, Kathy Dell. She would help us, and we combined Shel Silverstein's silly poems. We did plays. Now these kids, I found an article from the newspaper, and it said, "Not your usual Christmas program. Nothing is out of bounds." Well, those children dressed up in the clothing from their cultures, and they taught us about their holidays. I found where Kevin Zhang said, "I got to teach everyone about Chinese New Year." Another of my students said, you know, it was Autumn Cavalman, just came back. She said, "You know, we learned about all kinds of holidays, and you know what's special about holidays, no matter where they are? They're about family, love, and fun." What a special gift that they gave all of us. I had Bente Bouthier and Charlie Ricks. They were terrified to get in front of people. In this newspaper article, they said, for the first time, they liked getting in front of people. They couldn't wait for the play. Bente was a butterfly. We had a diverse group in this Christmas show. She was a butterfly. How appropriate was that? Because she had a metamorphosis. She was no longer afraid to stand up and speak in front of people. I just hope for those kids, I taught them to love learning and to love people. If they have those two skills, they're going to be successful in their lives. So thank you so much for the students. They were 8 and 9, and they got it. They really got it. Sometimes I think they got it better than, no offense, all of us. They really understand it. So finally, I want to thank Columbus and BCSC. You made my children successful with the education they got here. It was because of you. You're simply the best. We all know that song, Simply the Best. BCSC and Columbus are simply the best. They were amazing. I would go into a store, and they got to know me. If you're a teacher, you spend thousands of dollars out of your pockets over the years. I would walk in, and this one manager, he'd come and approach me before I got to him. He might as well. I was going to hunt him down. And he'd say, "What do you need this time, Sandy?" And I'd tell him maybe it was something for the troops. And he goes, "I can give you this much in dollars. Go pick out whatever you want." How special is that? We would go up to Camp Atterbury and do a program up there. And we also, when I was at Taylorsville, had pen pals in Desert Storm. When they came back, we had a welcome home party. I bet you remember that. The whole school, we had it decorated. It was outstanding. People stepped up for us and donated. Our school, it was Brenda Christoffel, Janice Waltemeyer, and Kathy Colvin. We were teaching together, and Sharon Fields. We were the ones writing the letters. Well, they went and asked around the community for sheet cakes, because we were going to keep them all day. We wanted to celebrate them all day. Everybody gave us sheet cakes. They were unbelievable. Uncle Sam, red, white, and blue flags. They donated the yellow ribbons. A lot of you probably remember that. We tied them around the trees. Gail and Dave Burnside, I think Jeannie's here, that's her brother, big flags that we got to present. I'm told not to do that. Big flags that we got to present to every single soldier. How special is that? Also, Gordon Ellsbury opened up his greenhouse. I know Amy and David are here. Opened up his greenhouse and said, just bring your vehicles, take anything you want. And I did. We did the program twice, and our whole school was decorated with red, white, and blue flowers. And because of the art teacher, the walls were covered, welcoming them to our school. Those kids will never forget that, and neither will the soldiers. How special was that? We did all kinds of things at Taylorsville. We had Alice in Wonderland Day. We built a wigwam. We planted a garden. Oh, on Alice in Wonderland Day, all of you know Shelley Lowhide? Yeah, she was Queen of Hearts. Boy, she pulled that off well. I think they really thought she was. We even got a voting machine brought in. Now, you older people, no offense, you know what a voting machine is. Those great big ones, the big metal one. Yeah, they brought it in. The children got to vote on it. And the candidates came and wandered around during lunchtime and told about the office they wanted to hold, why they wanted to hold it, and what was the responsibility. How special is that? It was really special. We also got to be at the salute concert. My little third graders had sandwich boards on. The Paynes Jackson had them on. They made them, and they wandered around through thousands of people, trying to get people to volunteer at the USO. We also had a big table, and those third graders made PowerPoints. I was told they couldn't do it. Yeah, they can. You set the bar high, they'll achieve it. They had PowerPoints. They had a book they had made. We'd gone to the USO, and they'd role-played, and we took pictures, and we had a hardback book. We wanted to demonstrate what your job would be when you went to the USO. When I was at Parkside, we walked out to the airport. First, we went to the fire station, and they learned about those heroes. Then we went to the Air Museum. Gordon Lake, Skip Taylor, and others, veterans, taught us about the Tuskegee Airmen. They taught us about Nancy Warren. They taught us about women pilots. We even had Gus Potiff there. He had been a prisoner of war in World War II at the bridge over River Kwai. Look it up. He taught us all kinds of things. He donated a painting that I hope still hanging in Parkside School, and it has an angel in it. Every painting he did had an angel, because he said that's what protected him, that angel. So every painting has an angel. So after we did that, Marcia Van Amen, she's right here in the first row, she arranged for us to go to IUPUC, Columbus Learning Center, Ivy Tech, and that Purdue school. I went to IU. That Purdue school, because we wanted kids to learn about what you could do right here in Columbus, but also all the opportunities in the world. We went next, we would get lunches from Blackerby's Hangar. He'd fix over 130 lunches for all these third graders, and he didn't make a dime because he didn't charge anything for them. He did that out of kindness. We'd go on tours downtown. We'd be walking downtown, and we were there, and I hear, Sandy, bring your kids, come on in here. And then he said, oh, I mean Mrs. Watts. Come on in here. I want to tell them about the great job I have, and I want to tell them about this great, great city. Well, I bet you can guess who it was. Mayor Fred, and everybody knew him as Mayor Fred. He proceeded to get this beautiful container full of jelly beans and said, do you like jelly beans? I love jelly beans. Here. And he goes, it's from a distinguished visitor from Japan. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to drop this. So quickly, my dad didn't raise a dummy. I had a parent take care of it. I didn't want that to be shattered on my watch. That was the giving we felt. I want to thank all of you. It takes all of us, all the groups I've named. It took all of us. That's what makes BCSC and Columbus a great place to be, working together. We're going to be with our 2 grandchildren in Disney World. And you know the song where they say, you make a wish, your dreams come true? I want to say, you don't have to go to Disney World. Stay in Columbus, go to BCSC. Your dreams will come true. I have students that are anywhere from living in Canada to Florida. I have students that live in New York and DC to California. I have students, my kids, they're my kids, they always will be whether they like it or not. My kids all around the world, we're Facebook friends. We're still going to high school and college graduation parties and weddings for my kids, because they're part of my family. So I want to thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I made it this far. I always wanted to be a teacher ever since I was a little girl with my cowgirl boots on, and Mary Jane Perry was my teacher. I always wanted to be a teacher. You made my dreams come true, and now you're honoring for what I love to do with all the people I love that are here. Thank you so much. I'll never forget this. It's like having a funeral before you die, and you get to hear all the good things. Thank you. Oh my gosh, we go way back.
Well, congratulations, Sandy. I think with Sandy's words of wisdom there, we can all understand why she was so successful. And without a sign-in sheet, I think I know everybody that attended tonight, because your name was somehow brought up at some time or another during her remarks. So thank you for your attendance this evening.
That's good.
All right, Mr. Sprong, we'll go ahead and get you up here and start to transition into the next presentation. Dr. Quick, we'll rely on your help back there for this transition. Heard some cats.
Click the video, get her back to the thing, right? Yeah, okay. She asked me that. I know. She asked me that.
All right. Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. We are going to transition right now into the presentation from Richards Elementary School with Mr. Sprong and his team. Darren, good evening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Dr. Roberts and the school board. Very difficult act to follow. I was hoping some of these, they're probably just going to watch this online, I guess. So we'll move on from that. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit more about Richards and who we are as Raider Nation. We are proud of our building and who we are. We're from our architecture and the unique design of our building to the horses and the art we actually have right inside of our building. We've had visitors from all over the world come to see our Nivola horses, the sculptures, so we invite you as well. What we're most proud of is our diversity and our students and staff and who we are every day. So our goal for our presentation is to show you a glimpse at how we're living out the goal of allowing our students the opportunity to provide community service, develop a strong work ethic, and connect to the community. Our motto is big dreams plus hard work equals success, and we try to live out that goal every day. So Karen Allen and Amy Mokus are co-chairs of our PBIS team. They are going to show you a little bit more about our strategic plan. Both are also members of our CIC. And Karen has been the co-chair, CEA co-chair for 12 years with me, right? Retiring this year after 32 years of service, so started when you were 8, something like that. So this strong team of leaders behind me are going to show you how we carry out the core beliefs of developing civic-minded citizens, and we'll show you the flexibility and choice as part of that from kindergarten through 6th grade as we develop our leaders.
Our work is most closely connected to 2 of these BCSC core beliefs, those 2 being that learning is most effective when we have choice, flexibility, and see relevance, and that our community and school district are stronger when we partner with one another. So our goal is connected to these BCSC strategic objectives. We believe that every student having equitable access to learning, growing, and demonstrating success is deeply connected to their development of a strong work ethic and a sense of the value they bring to their classroom and school community. Through classroom routines and structures and grade level and building-wide groups, our staff work to remove barriers to participation so that every student has the opportunity to be a leader and see the ways that their hard work benefits their classroom and school community. Some of the benefits of building a strong work ethic through school and community connections. We believe that through the responsibility of classroom and building-wide jobs, students are able to see the direct value they bring as they help to make their classrooms and school engaging environments where every student can learn. They have the opportunity to partner with each other, staff members, and community groups to work hard and participate in areas of high interest to them. As students practice working hard at school, our goal is for them to develop confidence in their role as citizens so that they are excited about and prepared to volunteer in their community. Many of our 6th grade students especially enjoy volunteering in the community as part of earning the Mayor's Work Ethics Certificate. As we saw their excitement around that, we considered what more we could do at Richards through grades K through 6 to prepare all students for that opportunity and for working and volunteering in their communities as they grow. As you'll see in the video on the next slide, we're highlighting these groups and these activities at Richards. Our students love having classroom jobs, being building helpers, joining gym crew, being peer leaders and young champions, and community volunteering in 6th grade. One thing I want to know as you watch the video, the first student that is highlighted is a classroom greeter, and you'll see her shaking Mr. Sprong's hand. And in the video, it doesn't come across how effusive she is with her greeting. When you walk in that room, she is immediately popping up, meeting you at the door, putting her hand out to shake your hand and saying, "Welcome to our classroom." She has taken to that role, loves it so much, and is now training others in her classroom in that role as well.
collecting food for the homeless and the people who are in need. Because the people who are in need, they need help and they need food and water. I like doing this because it's like trick-or-treating for other people. We are taking our books down to the library. It helps our books get down to the library.
Hi, I'm Aubrey, and my job is teacher helper. Teacher helper is where we help help the teacher anywhere when she needs help or if we need to pass out papers. We are the main resource to where if anyone needs help or if we need help ourselves, the other teacher helper could help us, and we help out the teacher.
These are our morning jobs. We take the library books down to the library, and I take down the breakfast count, and then I take down like lunch money.
Gym crew really improves students' ability to work with groups. Every week we have to set up a certain activity for the whole school, and it requires a lot of working together to be able to quickly set up those activities. Being in gym crew and applying is a very easy process, and it will teach students how to improve their social skills and how to work together as a team.
We are Gym Crew!
Hi, my name is Manasvi, and I'm working towards the Mayor's Work Ethic Certificate. I did 2 different things for my community service and ended up getting 6.5 hours. One thing I did was I rang a bell outside of Walmart, and then I made cards for kids in the hospital for the holidays, and me and my friend worked together for it, and we both shipped our cards over there.
Young Champions is an opportunity for students to come together to support, encourage, and challenge each other as they learn new skills, and then they're able to take what they learn about including others and being kind and be role models to their classmates.
Thank you so much to Josh Burnett for so perfectly capturing the civic spirit of our Richards Raiders. We appreciate his time and expertise so much. Here we have a couple snapshots of some things that didn't get into the video. One is that juvenile magistrate Brittany Long was able to come and talk to our 6th graders about civic engagement as an elected official. And then we have students being library helpers, students receiving the Mayor's Work Ethic Certificate from Mayor Linnip last spring. And then something we do at Richards, so we really want our students to get into the community to volunteer for their volunteer hours, but there are barriers that some students have to getting into the community to get those hours. So we provide opportunities at Richards. One of those is students sometimes help pack food bags for the food distribution that we do at school each week, and they really enjoy that. And then we also were lucky to have Dr. Roberts come visit one day and get right into it with helping the students set up for Young Champions. So we were happy to have him join us for that.
Hi, I'm Karen Allen. I'm a special education teacher at Richards. I'd like to talk a little bit about the connections that we've made between helping students build a strong work ethic and UDL and PBIS. UDL, short for Universal Design for Learning, is the framework that really guides everything we do in BCSC. UDL allows all students to access and participate in curriculum and activities in the way that suits them best. It allows students to show what they've learned in the way that suits them best. For UDL to be successfully implemented, it should be implemented across the board. At Richards, we provide multiple means of engagement, representation, and expression in the curriculum, but we also provide multiple means of being an active part of the Richards community. In our school, different roles and jobs suit different children. We try very hard to give all students the opportunity to learn the importance of a strong work ethic by contributing to the Richards community. PBIS, or Positive Behavior Instructional Supports, is another foundational component of BCSC schools. At Richards, we have consistent behavioral expectations for all students in all school settings. We provide direct instruction on these expectations, and we have a culture of positivity and accountability. The connection between building a strong work ethic and PBIS is really a two-way street. When students participate in the school community by being helpful to others or by being responsible for part of the classroom or the building, they experience engagement and empowerment that has a real positive influence on their learning. In turn, this sense of ownership and pride then helps foster a stronger work ethic. Let me give you an example. We have a student at Richards whom I'll call Jay. Jay has had a fair amount of trauma in his life, and frankly, his behaviors can sometimes reflect that. He's been known to leave the classroom without permission, disrupt learning, sometimes he hides. Earlier this year, we started enlisting Jay's help with some jobs around school. They're jobs any of us could very easily do. They're simple jobs, easy jobs, but we wanted him to start to experience the positivity of hard work and feeling ownership in our building, in our school community. Since we started that, he's now asking for more jobs to do around the school, and sure enough, his behavior has really improved a great deal. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our many partners. With their contributions, we are helping our students be their very best. Any questions? For Mr. Sprong?
Yeah. Sure. Could you talk a little bit about the requirements and the achievements that lead to the mayor's work ethic certificate?
So students in 6th grade have the opportunity to earn that work ethic certificate, and there are 9 characteristics that they need to meet. And their teachers, so their teachers for the year and any adults that work with them consistently have to sign off. So some examples, and I don't know all of them just without seeing a list, but some examples are taking initiative, completing their work in a timely fashion, practicing collaboration. So if students are able to show that, and then there are also requirements. They need to have 2 hours of community service. They need to have 98% attendance and have shown growth, academic growth, throughout the school year to earn that certificate. So it's open to all students in 6th grade, and then leads to the chamber certificate in 8th grade, and then the governor's work ethic certificate as high school seniors.
Very good. Thank you.
Questions? No? What's the favorite job? What's the job that all kids want to do at the... I hope it's dishes.
No, it's not dishes.
Restore my faith.
It's probably delivering library books.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Awesome. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Other comments?
Okay, we're going to move on to public comments. So for people who may not have been part of this process before, when you come into a school board meeting, there's always a blue sheet on the table in the back. And if you wish to speak during the board meeting, you just need to sign in. So people have done that. Our process is you get 3 minutes. So there's a little timer up here that lets you know how much time you get. and it will buzz when you're done, and I'll ask you to step down. I'll usually let you finish your sentence or your thought, but we try to stay on the 3 minutes. If you're here with a group, you can defer to a spokesperson or just say, I agree with so-and-so, and take your seat if that's what you wish to do. Please don't use names of individual students, staff members, or specific titles of roles. It's kind of the same thing. We just want to make sure we're making it a inviting environment for everyone. And I think those are my highlights. No cheers and jeers. So even if you really like what somebody said, just tell them that afterwards, if you wouldn't mind, okay? So first person who signed up tonight is Caleb Sharp. Yep. Thank you, Caleb.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Sharp, a junior at North, and I have high functioning autism. So I have somebody with me as well. She's my mom, and she was also a student of Miss Watts. I was wondering if that would violate that provision. Sorry. Not only I actually have two relatives, though I can't really say the other person's name because that would be violating. Not only is she a great teacher, she's also a great advocate for public education. But apparently, there's some people that want to destroy it. I'd like to talk to you about Senate Bill 270 in the Indiana State House, which provides that all school corporations who adopt a resolution for levying taxes via an operating referendum or something after the 10th of May, 2024, must share who receive from the levy with certain charter schools in all school corporations. I don't think this is a good idea because it's a direct transfer of funds from the public school to the charter school. Which in our case is the Liberty Academy down on 22nd Street near Little Caesars. I have a question for anyone here. If people are so, it turns out that the same school also advocates for the curriculum, also uses the curriculum as espoused by the Hinsdale College, which has been well known for its role in overturning public education, for advocating for privatization of schools like and are also stakeholders in Project 2025. One more thing.
Yeah, okay. You're good.
If anyone's watched Wheel of Fortune, they might know who Pat Sajak is. He's not only a well-known game show host, but he's also Hillsdale's chairman of the board of trustees. Even though he was a good game show host, he's not a really good human. I'm sorry, but he's not really a good human being in general. Thank you.
Real quick, Caleb's first time speaking in public, so.
I think you did a fantastic job.
And Mom, is Mom correct? Is there anything you want to add to Caleb's comments in terms of?
He's takes care of it.
Very good, okay. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you, Caleb.
All right. We have Crystal Pumphrey. Hi, Crystal.
My name is Crystal Pumphrey. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I appreciate your time, and I just have a couple of topics that I wanted to mention. With that being said, I spoke at the last board meeting with the intent on speaking on the weather and how a few weeks ago it was -8 degrees and the wind chill, or with the wind chill, and we still had school. And I understand a lot of variables go into the deciding of if you cancel or delay. But however, instead, I chose to speak on a book that I learned about during that meeting that is in our high schools. When I spoke, I went off of information that was provided during the meeting itself. For that, I apologize for my ignorance on the matter. Please know that I am an avid book reader. And I finally read the book that was discussed. And for speaking on a topic that I know nothing about, I don't usually do that, and I'm mad at myself for it. But however, I have read the book and educated myself on the topic. With that being said, I personally don't think a book should be banned or removed from a school, but I am a big believer in warnings. And after purchasing the book and reading it, I realized there are none on this book. And with some of the information and topics that are inside the book itself, shame on the author for not putting something on the book itself. But also, with that being said, if there's going to be anything in a book, especially one that's in our schools, that could trigger somebody, especially a child, clarification, anybody under the age of 18 is considered a child. I believe they need to be warned, and it can be something simple as topics in this book may not be suitable for all readers. That's a simple general warning that could allow the person who is getting the book the chance to understand that there may be something in that book that upsets them. I'm not coming here to complain. I simply just wanted to provide a possible simple solution for a controversial topic. Whether anyone chooses to listen to my recommendation is their choice. So with that being said, and with the few seconds remaining, the last thing I wanted to mention is there is a video that is circulating, and I didn't know if you guys were aware of not. Are you aware that there's a video circulating from Columbus East High School that shows bed bugs in the carpet? And if so, do you guys have a plan to solve this issue and prevention measures that might help as well? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Crystal. I appreciate it. Okay. Amy Hale.
Hello, my name is Amy Hale. I'm a parent of BCSC students, and I'm also a physician. And I'm here tonight to voice my support for the Windrose Mobile Health Clinic. I think it was discussed at the last meeting. This is a great option, both for preventative care and acute health care needs for students. It will provide flexibility for parents, and it will minimize time students spend away from school for appointments. But most important, in my opinion, it will allow access to care for low-income or uninsured students. Windrose is a federally qualified healthcare clinic, so what that means is it receives federal funding to take care of patients who may not be able to afford healthcare otherwise. It provides care for medically underserved areas and populations, and currently we don't have any Windrose clinics in Columbus. So BCSC will benefit from the mobile clinic, but this will be fully funded and operated by Windrose. sounds like a real win-win to me. And I hope that you all will support this important initiative. We all know that good health is essential for our students' academic success. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ms. Hale. Okay. That is all we had this evening in terms of public comments. Appreciate everybody coming out to share their thoughts with us. Okay, next we have Dr. Pleak.
Good evening. I request approval of 3 HR recommendations. 2 were in your packet and 1 was at your table this evening. For the third one here is the approval of Kathy Jackson as the principal at Rock Creek Elementary School starting with the 24-25 school year. Dr. Roberts, you want to take over?
I can do that. Actually, let's have the board go ahead and vote. Yep.
That's what I was thinking.
So that we can then move into the next pieces. So you have our recommendations for the human resources that does include Mrs. Jackson as the principal at Rock Creek Elementary School. We would ask for your approval, please.
I move that we approve the HR recommendations as provided by Dr. Pleak, which also includes the appointment of Mrs. Jackson as the new principal at Rock Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Any discussion amongst the team? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Dr. Pleak.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that approval. Mrs. Jackson, if you'd please come to the podium, and on your way up, I'll talk about you. So we do want to provide or offer congratulations to Kathy for her appointment to this position. Kathy is a proud graduate of our school system, Columbus East High School. Her experience with us, actually her first experience began at Franklin Community School Corporation as an art teacher, but then she has been with us at Columbus North High School, Northside Middle School, and Southside Elementary School, since 2014. So is finishing her 10th year as assistant principal. Kathy was recently recognized as the elementary assistant principal of the year for District 9 by the Indiana Association of School Principals. And when I mentioned she was a proud product of our school corporation, she also attended Smith, Clifty Creek, and Northside before graduating from Columbus East. So it's great to have a person come through our system, become the person and educator that Kathy has, and then give us the opportunity to reward her for that and put her in an awesome place like Rock Creek Elementary School. So Kathy, congratulations.
It is with joy, gratitude, and humility that I accept this honor of being the principal at Rock Creek Elementary School. Thank you, Dr. Roberts, Dr. Pleak, Dr. Hack, the interview committee, some of you here this evening, and members of the board for your approval. I could not be here today without the mentoring, guidance, leadership, and friendship of many educators along the way, including Phil Miller, my high school art teacher, Pam Milliken, my former principal and mentor in Franklin, and Jeff Bachmeyer, the principal of Southside Elementary School. For the past 10 years, Jeff has poured into me his knowledge, guidance, and support, and has prepared me for such a time as this. My Southside family of teachers, support staff, students, and parents has helped hone my skills to become the leader I am today. I am grateful for their support. Something you did not hear in my bio is the fact that Rock Creek has been part of my life since 2001, when my oldest child entered there as a kindergartner. And then I spent 14 years there until my youngest child made it through and completed 6th grade. It was during that time that I learned Rock Creek has roots that run deep, and their commitment to each other as teachers, students, and families is undeniable. I look forward to being part of this tradition. Lastly, as you can all see, I may stand up here alone tonight, but that's only because of those who have stood behind me, alongside of me, and sometimes even stood for me through the years. Thank you to my support system, my husband, Robert, my children, Dakota and McKenna, my daughter-in-law, Haley, and of course, my mom. She has always encouraged me to dream big and to follow those dreams, and that is what I have done. I remember when both of my children came out of the basketball tryouts from Rock Creek, excited to share their news. Well, now I too can say I made the team. Go Bulldogs.
Some good stuff tonight, Mrs. Wilden, with Mrs. Watts and Mrs. Jackson. So great to celebrate those things on an evening like this. Thank you.
Before we go to the next one, and I tell you, don't have additional human resource recommendations, I would like to remind the people in the crowd, we are still nominating teachers for Teacher of the Year. We've been doing it for 2 weeks so far, and they close on February 19th. And as of today, we have 365 nominations for Teachers for Teacher of the Year. So while you're here, please tell your friends to please nominate. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Takes us to school board member reports.
Okay. Dale, would you mind starting?
I do not have any.
Okay.
I believe Mrs. Watts covered Hall of Fame committee pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Mr. Grimes?
A quick plug for the School Foundation. The School Foundation did meet, I think, the night after our last meeting. But just to anyone here and anyone out there that might be watching or later or now, please consider helping support teachers as they bring their creative ideas and projects to life for students through Donors Choose, which is a matching program through the School Foundation. There are currently 13 projects out there waiting for donations, teachers from 9 different schools. There was a link in the last newsletter, or you can go to bcsfstars.org to check that out. And then, if I can follow my notes here, and I'll try to keep this brief because this could go on for a long time. The School Board Association report, week 4 of the short session has just completed. So we're approaching halfway through the short session. The goal of the legislature continues to be, I believe, Friday, March 8th. There were originally 116 K through 12 bills on the School Board Association watch list. And it looks like about a third of those are actually going to cross over to the second chamber. The third reading deadline to cross over chambers is today in the House, was today in the House, and tomorrow in the Senate. Just some quick bills of note. Senate Bill 1, which I talked about in the last meeting, which ISBA supports, the reading bill, has passed the third reading, and will now move on to the House. 2 bills that I recently contacted Senator Walker about. One that was Caleb just mentioned, Senate Bill 270, which takes potentially dollars raised through referendum through school corporations and shares it with charter schools. And then also Senate Bill 146, which deals with youth employment in the state of Indiana, which many parts of are in direct conflict with federal legislation. And then lastly, House Bill 1376, which has been amended several times, that allows school corporations when they can put referendums on the ballot. And so there's been a compromise reached there, but it has passed the third reading narrowly and has now also been moved on to the Senate. So that's just kind of a quickie. I think by the time our next meeting, March 4th, things will be wrapping up and we'll have a pretty good pulse on what it looks like we'll be dealing with moving forward.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. For me, I will cover that our superintendent position is posted. That was went up last week. I haven't looked yet to see how many applicants we might have. They will just continue to roll in is my expectation. And then the next major part of the process for us is that week of March 4th, either a couple days before or after, the school board will meet with that university team, and we will really organize ourselves around the interview process. We'll select our questions. We'll make sure we understand what that looks like, and then interviews will take place the few weeks following spring break. So that's kind of a high level what the next major steps are in that process. And then for my committee assignments, I'm on the County Redevelopment Commission. Our first meeting for the year is on February 19th, so I don't have anything to share here today. Mr. Stoner?
The Districting and Facilities Committee met last week. Dr. Bozeman, Dr. Phillips used it as an opportunity to collect feedback and thoughts about next steps for Invision 2030. And we have a meeting on that topic coming up on the 19th. So.
Mr. Major.
Yeah, I want to just say for the Redevelopment Commission, there's nothing new, but I want to highlight Amy London shared some information with us on the Health Trust. I did not see this until after she had mentioned it, but the 2023 Reader's Choice Reader's Choice Best Family Doctor for Columbus is our Dr. Klein that serves the BCSC Healthy Clinic. So it's a really good thing for us to have such a wonderful doctor here inside of our health clinic serving so many people. So I just wanted to make sure that that was highlighted and thank him for all the hard work that he does, the nurses that support him, and the staff and secretary as well. So.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant, anything? No? Okay. We will move on to old business. No, cabinet report. Sorry, got ahead of myself. Dr. Phillips.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone. I just have for you the quarterly financial update, and this wraps up all of 2023's financials. And coming up here was just quicker because I could click myself and point to the highlights and move on. As you know, we always budget revenues conservatively, as in lower than what we would actually expect them to be. And that worked out in 2023 in that our actual revenues exceeded budget in the prior year for all three of our major tax-supported funds. As far as expenditures go, of course, the education fund is the largest of our expenditure categories. We like to do the same here, which is overestimate expenditures and try to come in under. But as you know, in 2023, in the fall of 2023, we passed a very strong contract with our Teachers Association and increased salaries there. So we did exceed the salary and budget by just a little bit. Benefits were pretty much right on target, and the other categories were very near expected. On the operations fund side, we also exceeded the budget for salaries and benefits, again, just by a small margin. But again, we have cash on hand, and you approved the additional appropriations required to meet those, to meet the needs in those categories. In the other category, which of course in operations is the largest category since we do so many facilities work and purchase so much equipment from that side, we also came in under budget in that category. This is just a summary of all of our debt service expenditures for 2023, and I put the prior year on there too for you as well, just to have a point of comparison. You will note at the bottom that we were just under about $2.9 million more in expenditures in 23 compared to 22. You'll see at the end that some of that, as has been the case for the last 3 years, has been from existing cash balance. So some of it's from additional property tax revenue with increased assessed value because our tax rate actually went down from 22 to 23. But because assessed value went up, we were able to make our payments and use some of the cash balance to do so as well.
Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, go back. Yeah, I like this slide because of the maturity dates that you have included in there, and I think with that relationship to what we're doing with our facilities project kind of tells the story there, because we have 8, I believe, that are maturing by 27, and then a 9th one by 29, which is within the time frame of our project between now and 29. So
that's correct.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So thanks for sharing that.
On the operating referendum side, again, we also exceeded the budgeted amount for the teacher. I put both salary and benefit together on this slide, broke these up into basically the main 4 categories that we're spending operating referendum money for. The teacher benefits and salaries for their increases are there. Just ahead of budget, again, we had a lot more people reach that 5-year threshold to start receiving those dollars, which is a good thing and means that the operating referendum is, at least to a certain extent, successful. I will point out that we were well behind the previous year under the safety, security, and wellness category, and that's simply because of the timing of when we paid for buses. So still the same purchases that we expected, it was just a timing issue there. Digging into the operating referendum just a little bit, this is a slide I've used for the last couple of years. Over the course of calendar year 2023, we had more than 540 teachers that qualified for the retention increases due to the operating referendum. Those teachers averaged more than $9,400 in additional salary. That's actually down a little bit from the previous year as far as the average goes, because we had a lot more people reach that $5,000 threshold as opposed to the larger $10,000 or $15,000 threshold after their 10th or 15th year of service with BCSC. So we had more teachers qualified, but the average was just a little bit lower for those folks. And more than 1,200 classified staff averaged more than $1,100 in increased salary in 2023 due to the operating referendum. And these other 2 categories are the same as they have been in previous years. Just pointing out, were it not for the operating referendum, what would we need to do? The operating referendum between teachers and classified staff contributed an additional $6.3 million in increased employee salaries. That does not include these STEM teachers. This is just in increased pay for the existing staff. If we didn't have that operating referendum in place, we would need to find 5.2% cut in the operating or education fund in order to fill that gap, which, as you know, on the education fund side, since we're 96 to 98% salaries and benefits, that means cutting staff. This is a new slide that we put together for you. We do track this often. This is from the Indiana Education Employment Relations Board report available on the Gateway website. The state's average salary here is tracked in the middle on the black line. And you can see that prior to operating referendum, we trailed that by $3,000 to $4,000 depending on the year. For 1920 and 2021, after implementing the operating referendum, we surpassed the state average by nearly $4,000 per teacher, and that has grown even more in 22-23. Were it not for the operating referendum, if we took those salaries out of all of those teachers for this same report that we submit, we would go back to being between $2,000 and $3,500 behind the average state teacher salary. And this is just a summary of the entire year. I pointed to this earlier and said that we would talk about the fact that we are reducing our cash balance in the debt service funds. And again, I've said this before, but you don't live it, so I'll just say it again quickly. As older debt rolls off, we were allowed to keep 50% of the next year's payment in cash balance. When older debt retires and newer debt comes on, we're only allowed to keep 15%. And so every district that had those cash balances in place is currently reducing slowly the cash balances that were in place for your debt service funds. And so we were just at that, about just over $6.5 million between those two funds combined at the beginning of last year of 23, and are closer to the $5 million total mark at the end of 23. On the education fund side, I want to point out that this slide looks differently than your packet. I apologize. I included our tax anticipation warrant principal repayment in this number, the $89.5 million initially. So it is now accurate on the slide in front of you. I mentioned before on the very first slide, revenues exceeded our budget. They exceeded our budget by more than usual because of what we talked about back in January. Significant increase in the interest earned on our cash that is invested during the course of the year. And so largely for that reason, both in the education fund and the operations fund, the cash balance actually increased in spite of us exceeding our budget for salaries and benefits. Operations, you might remember for the last 2 years, we have budgeted about $1.5 million more in expenditures than we expected to bring in cash. And yet for both of those years, we brought more revenues in than expenditures. So strong from a financial perspective there, up in all of our major tax supported funds with the exception of the debt service fund, which I explained earlier. Happy to answer any questions about the 23 financials if you have any.
Mr. Grooms?
I've got one observation and one question. The observation, I just wanted to say thank you for the slides in regards to the referendum, particularly the line graph that quite obviously demonstrates the importance and significance of the referendum. And then my question is on the chart, and I hope that I hope I don't sound foolish here and I've missed something, but the rainy day, the curriculum materials, did that money got shifted from rainy day to cover the shortage of curriculum materials that the corporation does not charge parents for now? Is that correct, or?
We have not transferred any funds. That would have been in 24. That was for calendar year 2024's budget.
Okay.
And to date, I haven't transferred anything.
It's not had to happen. Okay.
My intention, obviously from a cash standpoint, we're in a healthy place as a school district. My intention would be, as we look at the 2025 budget this fall, is to bring that back in front of you with those options again and say, we're 9 months into the year now. What's your preference for covering that $250,000 transfer?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yeah, Dale?
So I like graphs anyway, but just to reinforce what Mr. Grimes just said, that line graph really does show the benefit that we got from the referendum. That's powerful.
Thank you.
I had a question on the next slide, actually. Not that one. When we're talking about rainy day funds, and I'm looking at all, in reality, is our rainy day fund, and just for the audience, in my better understanding, is that the secondary level of, because you have cash balances in each of these supported buckets, so in reality, it's almost a second tier of rainy day fund support. Am I looking at that correctly?
You're exactly right. Most districts, and I would do the same. If I'm gonna look at what is our emergency reserve, I'm gonna consider the education fund cash balance, operating referendum fund cash balance, operations, and rainy day. Those for the debt service funds are not, you can't touch those. They're obviously committed to paying on your obligations, but those other funds combine those dollars, and that's the cash available to make up for any unexpected emergency. We can and do oftentimes budget for expenditures using some of this cash. We will this year because of the contract that we passed, but we don't, at least in this district, traditionally have not ever budgeted any rainy day funds, with one exception since I've been here.
And I think the only advice is on the right-hand side, even after the balance, it would be great to see the % of anticipated spend for the next year, and what do we have on cash on hand. So for example, right, from my knowledge of the education fund, it's somewhere north of 80 million. So you're somewhere shy of 10%, but I believe in operations, you're gonna be somewhere close to 40 or 50%. So just so that we all see, we can then look at what reserves do we have on hand against the anticipated expenditures.
Will do, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry.
The, following up on Mr. Shull's comments, it looks to me like if we got about 30 million and in and outs 150 each year, that's about 20%. As you talk to your peers in conferences and association meetings, is 20% about the right number? Do we have any idea if it's too high or is it too low?
That's a good question. Districts are all over the place when it comes to this money, and honestly, I'll just say that I'll toot our own horn. When it comes to the operations money, we are very transparent about the fact that there's now $14.3 million in there. There's easy ways to obligate that money and carry forward unexpended dollars from the prior year as an obligation, and then have it not look like that it's available cash. We don't play those games. My predecessor, who most of you know, Dr. Silva, used to say to me, the goal is not to finish the year with the most money in the bank. It's the goal is to invest the most funds in our kids' learning. And so I do believe that, again, that's why in operations the last 2 years we have passed a budget of $1.5 million more than expected revenues to start drawing that balance down, and it just hasn't come to fruition. So I do believe that we're in a comfortable place now and probably have a slightly higher than the average cash balance across the state. I'm making some assumptions based on numbers that I've seen, but I do think that because of the COVID year, when people didn't expend as much operationally and assistance from ESSER funds, most districts across the state do have significantly higher cash balances than they did prior to 2020.
And then the follow-up, we can see here the beginning of 23 and the last day of 23. Are there any stress points during the calendar year at which you start to worry about the balance in any of these funds?
Yes, almost always in June and December when we have to make our debt payments and the county hasn't distributed our property tax payment to us yet. Again, we could make our June payments for sure, but it's one of the reasons that I stress this, that property taxes are the most stable way for us to make obligations, particularly towards our debt. And the reason that we do carry a significant cash balance is because twice in the last decade, we've had significant interruptions to the economy, and both times has resulted in a dramatic decline in the education fund revenues, and then the next time a delay in property tax during COVID, property tax distributions.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Dr. Bozeman, Mr. Williams.
All right, good evening. Thank you for giving us a few minutes to update you on BCSC technology. So our mission in technology is to create flexible, productive, universally designed environment that responds to the needs and challenges of all of our stakeholders. And we do support everybody who walks onto a bus, to the classroom, to cafeterias. We do see the entire district, so it's quite diverse. I have my team here with me tonight, who we will kind of share this presentation, but Brenny Coomer is in charge of educational technology, Brian is in charge of technology operations, and all three of us now are on kind of the biggest state boards for these different groups, and I think we're the only district now that has representation in all three, which just means a lot more access to resources and just kind of general knowledge from the state. And we have a fantastic team across the district that are listed there. So if you look at our network and kind of our infrastructure, it's big. It's one of the biggest in the county. We have over 2,000 staff members that we take care of, over 12,000 student accounts, and we also support a lot of parents sometimes. We do have also a 24/7 monitored network, and we manage over 70 systems. So a system could be anywhere from like a Power School to Skyward to Parent Square, and a learning management system. And then finances, we haven't talked a lot about this before, but there's some changes this year that I'd like to point out. We, on average, have around $3.5 million as an annual budget outside of personnel costs. It takes about $1 million a year to sustain student devices, and that is new devices for every 1st, 5th, and 9th grader. And one of the changes is that the 12th graders, the seniors, now get to take their device home. That's been a request from Ivy Tech, local colleges, for quite a while, and this is the first year of the seniors having touchscreen Chromebooks that we're able to send those home, so that's exciting. And it would be a 4-year cycle that we replace them on. And I think all in all, including laptops, iPads, it's about 1.5 that we end up spending total on devices. And then over the last 5 years, and again, being on these committees and boards help, is that we've had over $2.5 million in grant money come into the district, which has included all of these things. And the most recent one is family engagement, one that Brenny got. So we're excited about that, but it is funded a lot, or at least helped funded a lot over the last 5 years. And this has been a big year for us. So nationally, Dr. Roberts was awarded last spring the 2023 Empowered Superintendent of the Year. This was kind of a joint award with the National Superintendent Association and the National Educational Technology Organization. So that was really cool. And then just a few weeks ago, BCSC was spotlighted in the 2024 National EdTech Plan for our work around UDL. So that was really exciting as well. It's the first educational tech plan since 2019, so it's been quite a while since they've released one, and we got a full page highlighting our work in BCSC. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Brenny.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. Happy Monday. I'm super excited to talk to you tonight about the connections between our strategic plan and really how our learning management system supports that. So we have a very UDL-focused approach with what we do, and what I'm going to talk to you about are the ed tech pieces that really help our teachers and our students meet those high expectations and support all the diverse learners that we have in our classrooms. So a few years ago, we were doing a lot of remote learning, if everyone remembers that. And in the midst of that remote learning, I got an email from our learning management system at the time that said, by the way, we're going to be leaving the United States market in 5 years. So farewell. So I remember going to Dr. Roberts and saying, okay, what are we going to do? And we started a process to select our replacement for that. And honestly, I'm glad that It's Learning gave us some time, because that allowed us to have a year of reviewing, getting feedback from all these different groups, including parents, classified staff, a range of teachers, and all of those different staff members who support our students. And that also gave us a year last year to train all of our staff on this new learning management system, which is Canvas, and to migrate their content, because we had It's Learning for about 8 years. So there was a lot of stuff there to move over. So this has been our first year using Canvas, and it's gone really, really well. I have some examples on there of just some of the wonderful things our teachers are putting in those courses. We use this K through 12, and we have a lot of exciting features in Canvas that It's Learning kind of had some of them, but not all of them. And I think we kind of had outgrown It's Learning, so it's nice to see some of these features that we had wanted for some time all in this one system. A number of them include supports for our multilingual learners. We have translation supports, accessibility tools, all baked in to that system. There's the ability to have the elementary interface for our primary students so that the buttons are bigger, it's easier for them to navigate that system, and there's a much more robust mobile app that goes along with Canvas as well. So we have many training opportunities as well. I have just some screenshots I was able to cram onto this slide, and I was like, oh gosh, that's probably a lot. But we have lots and lots of training opportunities for staff in the district to learn about Canvas, partly because we're firm believers that we have a lot of different learning preferences, and our students and our staff also have those different needs and strengths and want to learn at their own pace in their own flexible ways. So we've provided sessions on every district PD day for the last 2 years. We've given staff the opportunity to learn at their own pace in staff-paced Canvas courses, summer professional development opportunities, workshops, hands-on things, and I always like to give away prizes and things as well. So the most recent one we did was 12 Days of Tech, and I actually need to go through and pick all the prize winners for that, but it's also just to give staff the opportunity to learn and grow and get a nice little prize for their efforts. So that has really lent itself to the crazy high usage we've had in Canvas in our first year. We have 96% student engagement in Canvas each week, and it's been on an upward trend on the graph every single week, which is insane. It's super exciting. We were close to that in our last few years with its learning, but definitely not in our first year at that usage. And then what's really exciting for our middle school and high school teachers and students and staff and parents is that the Canvas gradebook can sync over to our Power Teacher Pro gradebook, which is something our secondary teachers have begged for years, and I'm so glad that we were able to deliver on that with Canvas. So next up, I'm going to give this over to Brian.
Thank you. All right, so it seems like every year we have some sort of system that comes online, as Nick was alluding to. We have quite a few that we manage, maintain, that we really hope support the staff and educational outcomes for students. So what I was talking about for this year that we've started curating and working with the high school specifically is called Performance Matters. And it's really like a data warehouse. It's pulling all the data in from Power School, and it is allowing us to see, for here on this example, students that have some at-risk potential. Early warning indicators are showing, you can see a little demonstration here of attendance rates, of failure of courses, of behavioral incidences. So what this is allowing our high school cohorts to do is really drill down and see what students might need some supports and maybe some interventions earlier on so they can support these students and have just a better educational outcome for everybody as they're working through their high school careers and getting to that graduation finish line. And then kind of one more thing with the kind of supporting the district's strategic plan, especially the SAFE piece, is we focused a lot over the last year and a half or so on cybersecurity. So what we've been utilizing as we have a cybersecurity task force in the IT department that we use what is called the Center for Internet Security, or CIS controls, as a framework where we looked at our practices and compare them to what is recommended for best practices as far as cybersecurity, and then trying to obviously reduce incidents, reduce vulnerabilities, and just really secure our internal and external facing systems and really our staff as well, to just make it as tight and secure as possible. We have a team that meets monthly. We go through these cybersecurity framework pieces and see what people have done, what people are working on, and if they've completed something, what's the next step in cybersecurity that we're going to be pursuing. So some of the 2023 things that we've done, we've updated our backup system, and we are in the process of getting yet another way to have an off-site backup, and a air-gapped backup, if you will, that is constantly being scanned for vulnerabilities, for potential things that we want to keep, obviously, off of our systems, and keep our data safe and our students and our staff safe as well. We conduct self-phishing, which is basically trick emails is what it is to our staff. IT gets it too, so we work through that. If you get through it, that's great. If you click on it, there's a little message that says, sorry, you might need some more training on that. We do provide training. to various schools for phishing and other cybersecurity initiatives. We do tabletop exercises, which is just essentially taking a real life example and working through that process to say, what will we do at 8 a.m. on the first day of something happening? What will we do at 2 p.m. on the third day of something happening? And then we take what we learned from those tabletops and apply them to some of our practices. Do we need to make adjustments? Do we need to adjust our procedures? Do we need to look at investing in something that might help us avoid some of these issues that have been pretty well publicized throughout the United States? Improving password best practices. I think everybody's updated their passwords in here, or at least I hope they have at this point. So again, we're just following security practices, make them a little more secure, and just trying to keep everybody that's in BCSC as safe as possible. And we work with various partners and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency to do pen tests on our network. What a pen test, or that's short for penetration test, is we're trying to find vulnerabilities. What's out there that someone could exploit, get into our systems and take over, or give us a virus, or do some sort of ransomware. So we have places that are scanning our environment, they're scanning our outside, they're scanning our inside, trying to find vulnerabilities. They give us a report, and then we remediate those. So we really try to make sure we are keeping everything tight, everything secure as best as we possibly can, to try to keep everyone involved inside and outside of BCSC as safe as possible.
And do you have any questions?
Yeah. One quick one. Canvas, the transition, bigger pain, less of a pain, or about what you expected?
I think it's gone exceptionally well. Like for the e-learning day, I think we had 6 phone calls in. First day we had It's Learning, we had almost 200. So between the communication that we can provide now through Parent Square and the base knowledge that our staff already had of having a learning management system for so long, I think has helped us kind of have a successful adoption. But it is such a big step up. How connected everything is quite amazing.
Awesome.
I was going to ask about the Canvas statistic. Like Ms. Coomer, I was kind of amazed that we hit 96%. That's measured each week. What counts as a contact?
So engagement includes signing in, and then it also looks at interacting with the course. So it can be clicking, so you go to your course and you get your homepage, that's technically not engagement. If you click to another item within the course, that counts towards that statistic. So it's not a matter of just pulling up, signing in, it's looking in the course and actually interacting with content.
And then I think Canvas is used at a lot of post-secondary institutions as well. So students does it look different, or will they recognize what they're using when they get to college?
They will recognize it. The only difference is just some of the branding, but all of the buttons and pieces are the same. And that was one of the pieces that when we did parent feedback sessions, that some of the parents were like, I use this in my classes, or I know what this is because I have a student who's using it right now. And that was a big selling point and something that we wanted to make sure that we could easily support. So they had that ease of use moving on after they're not with BCSC anymore.
And I think working together with Dr. Hack and Mr. Edwards and Mrs. Vogel too, over the years, really every group has had training or is focused on this. But if students want access to curriculum, they're logging into Canvas, and it's their kind of single sign-on point to the reading, to the math, science, everything else.
Any other questions? I will also add you have excellent board member tech support too, Mr. Williams. You can add that to that slide as a whole category. Okay, thank you.
We have the best K-12 technology department in the state of Indiana. I will go on record to say we're fortunate to have that team. I'll be very brief. Good evening. Just a standing item on your agenda for Invision 2030 updates. Just a couple of items for you unless you have questions. We continue to work with CSO on short and long-range planning for our facility updates. Actually met with the Cummins Foundation today, and they hope to have a list for us this week or next on potential design architects for the 12th Elementary that we will have a very public-facing process for that selection that you'll be involved with. We're finishing up the RFP for that selection now, and we will make that available to you and put that on our website as well for public review. And just a reminder, thanks Mr. Stenner for his mention from the DNF meeting, but we will meet with you in strategic planning, the board, on the 19th. That's an open session for the public. Will be upstairs in the boardroom. We'll bring to you a phase 1 proposed schedule for our facility renovations, and no action required by you all at that, just an opportunity for feedback and review. And then we plan to issue an RFP for construction managers for those projects that next day. We'll bring that same presentation with any items back to this meeting on the 4th of March for another public meeting. So just a quick update from me, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Nope. Thank you, Dr. Bozeman. Okay. On to old business.
Yeah, so we have a couple of items, both old business and new business. So starting with the old business, I request approval of the minutes of the regular school board meeting from January 22nd, our last one. But we also had a special school board meeting on January 29th, so asking for approval of those minutes from both meetings. Also asking for approval for Neola Policy 5710, which is student complaints. My error did not make it into the batch of policies the last time that you had them, and so just need to make sure we approve that one as well. Student complaints, the big change in there was just making sure to reference back to the new policy we have, which is the parent or the complaints and concerns, public complaints and concerns. So just need to get that one done so we can submit that to Neola for publication.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
I move that we approve the old business items as listed and presented by Dr. Roberts.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes and Mr. Nellen. Any discussion or questions from the board before we go to vote? Okay. All those in favor of approving item 5, A and B, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, we have a few items. First, supplemental contracts, then field trips and professional leaves. Under field trips and professional leaves, we had a couple come through. You should have an additional sheet in front of you tonight that on the back side of that has a couple of highlighted ones. These field trips were going to occur before the next school board meeting, so we took advantage of having gotten the information about them to put in front of you tonight, so we will add that. Additionally, we have school fundraisers. We also have claims and payroll. The claims dated today, February 5th, are a little over $1.1 million. The pre-runs from January 1st to January 26th to 59, almost $60 million. Payroll for January 12th was about a little over $3.3 million. And then we have request for a letter of support for the health clinic grant. We talked about that one at the last meeting. Also, Dr. Bozeman is asking for permission for purchasing buses and also to accept bids for Schmidt Elementary School, which is the next big project that we have going on. And those are the items I have under new business.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
I'd like to break out item G.
Real quick, too. I didn't, last time when we had bus approvals, we had a quote. I forgot to ask about this earlier, but do we have a quote for those? And again, since I worked for Cummins, I did not vote for buses the last time. And if those engines are Cummins engines, I would ask for that one to be broken out too, so I won't vote on it.
Okay. Is that okay? Yep. All right. We will pull out J and H separate.
G.
G. Thank you.
H.
Very good.
C to F and I.
Okay. I will ask for a motion from the board now.
I move that we approve the new business items 6C through F and I as listed.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes and Mr. Schultz. All those in favor of approving, any questions or comments on those items before we go to vote? No. Okay. All those in favor of approving 6C through F and I, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. And then the first one pulled out is the letter of support.
Letter G.
Letter G.
So do we need a motion before we discuss it? So I move that we approve letter G under item 6, letters of support for the health clinic grant.
Thank you, Ms. Janella. Do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Any questions or comments from the team?
I think the only comments, and I know Dr. Phillips and I have been exchanging emails, I honestly am still left with a lot of questions and not as many answers as I would like to see to give a letter of support. And so that's really my ask for why we're breaking this out. I'm still unsure on costs. I know the $150,000 for our build out, but at the end of the day, there's costs to the U.S. taxpayers as well on here. And given the tax season, we all know what that is. And so I think we need to see that. I also have questions around the location of the clinic at North versus downtown, East Columbus, Taylorsville, and rural areas. I also still don't understand the demand besides generalities provided by Columbus Regional Health. And I appreciate Mr. Williams and the tech department. We have all these tools to connect to our students, and we haven't leveraged them to see where their need is. And I think that's a step that we should take before we put the burden on taxpayers. So I think that data should be collected and support. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to support it. I think there's an opportunity here. I believe Dr. Hales discussed it, but at the end of the day, we don't know the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, why, and that's the questions that I have and still continue to have until we honestly can, and we have the ability. That's the hardest part for me not to understand is we have the tools and mechanisms. I know as a parent, we fill out the sheet just like everyone else. If you got a pediatrician, you list it. We could look at it that way, or we could survey. And both are available to us, and both I've discussed this since it was brought to me in November in the CCIC meeting, at the subsequent board meeting, last board meeting, and now, and still not using the tools, I think is a miss when we're asking the taxpayers to burden those costs.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Ms. Janella?
So I have a question around that, either for Dr. Bozeman or Dr. Phillips, maybe. So a yes vote here, I know it's a vote to approve applying for the grant. If it comes down to, does it also approve an expenditure of $150,000 to build out a clinic, or is that something that would come to the board later if that occurs?
It would come after the grant was received. It does not. It is only approval for, actually, I guess, to give Ms. Wielden authority to sign the letter when it's completed. Once the grant is released in the next couple of months.
So we're not committing to a $150,000 clinic at this point.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes.
So I've got a comment, a couple comments. One, it's my understanding that the expected cost would be minimal, and consequently, in my opinion, certainly would be well worth it. From a personal standpoint, I work in a setting where our school counselor and social worker spends the bulk of her day trying to get caretakers, guardians, parents, foster parents, grandparents, proper behavioral health care and medical health care for their kids. And I think since this topic came up here, it's been on my mind a lot how beneficial, where I happen to be employed, such an opportunity would be there. And I think it would be, in my opinion, a big miss not to apply for the grant.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Okay. Anyone else from the team? Okay. I have a motion and a second for item 6G, letter of support of health care clinic, the letter of support for health clinic grant. All those in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay.
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 Thank you. Let it show as a pass 5-2 vote.
The next item then is the purchase of buses, letter H.
I move that we approve agenda item 6, letter H, the purchase of buses.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nellen and Mr. Schultz. I think, as previously said, I will abstain from this vote, and Mr. Major, you'll do the same? Yep. Okay, so Mr. Major and I will abstain from the vote. All those in favor of approving 6, item H, purchase of buses, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Board input. Mr. Bryant, would you have anything to say? Help close this out.
Yeah, I think it was great. Ms. Watts, my daughter had her at Taylorsville, and all the things that she named, they did at Taylorsville, and it was great. And my brother-in-law was in Desert Storm, and he was going to got a recipient of a flag and so forth. So it brought back some great memories because he made it back. Yeah, I want to thank her more than you could have possibly imagined. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Mr. Major.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. We've got some teams that have played their last games, some teams that are still moving towards that as far as sectionals are concerned for all winter sports. But one of the things I think is the coolest thing that has happened in the last couple of weeks is the East Boys swim team won their first conference championship in 42 years. And so I want to just congratulate my friend Coach Trueblood and the team for the success that they've had this year. So that's great.
Thank you, Mr. Major. Mr. Steiner?
I'd echo the comments of the other board members that have already spoken. This is a tremendous meeting. The Hall of Fame Award, best practices, annual reports on our corporation finances and our technology, use of technology. Really good meeting. And then to echo what Ms. Wielden was talking about earlier in the meeting, I'd just like for as many people as possible to participate in our superintendent search process by going to the BCSC schools website and then taking that survey to help us make the best possible decision as we're recruiting and selecting a replacement for Dr. Roberts. A sad task.
Thank you, Mr. Steiner. On that note, I would like to thank Mr. Burnett, Mr. Williams, Dr. Pleak, and Mr. McGyver, who were very efficient at collecting all the information we needed to get that position posted quickly, get the survey out there, et cetera. That was not easy, and I know there's a lot of work put into that, so thank you for reacting quickly to our request.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt. I forgot. There is a time limit on the survey, right?
I think it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So it will actually close before we meet again as a school board. Days, I guess.
Yeah.
February 16th.
Thank you. Lisa Haynes had reached out to me and wanted to highlight something. Parkside robotics team, the 4th graders at Parkside, won an excellence award in the Fall Creek robotics competition, which is pretty awesome. That qualifies them for state. We have 2 other schools who qualify for state, Smith and Central, I believe. So just a great showing across the board. BCSC in the area of technology. A special shout out goes to Lisa Haynes, who I think does an awesome job. Liz Strolian, Vincent, Rajesh Garajan, I think, and Dallin Murray, who were the people who were most influential in that victory, along with all of the amazing children who dedicate their time and the parents that help them do that. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations again to Mrs. Watts on her very well-earned honor and her many years of dedication and service to BCSC. Thanks to Mr. Sprong and the Richards team for their presentation. Thanks to Dr. Phillips again for his always thorough, well-explained financials. Mr. Williams and the tech team, thank you. All the community members that are here, community members, stakeholders that are here or maybe out there listening. And then lastly, I got this information from the regular newsletters that come out from Mr. Burnett that always contain lots of good information. With the legislature paying so much attention to reading, Book Buddies still needs volunteers. And with the possibility of legislation getting passed in terms of possibly retaining, gosh, many third graders across the state that are reading below grade level. We've heard presentations about Book Buddies and the success of the program here, so anybody out there that has some time on their hands, please consider volunteering.
I feel like I'm basically repeating everyone, but again, thanks to Dr. Phillips and Mr. Williams for their presentations to us. I also want to recognize Mrs. Watts. I was a part of that Taylorsville family when she was coming through. And I mean, in preparation for this, I reminisced with a lot of friends, my brother included, that had her. And the adjectives that are on that plaque are immortalized in everyone. So at the end of the day, I mean, she touched a lot of souls, and her and Dr. Quick and others made Taylorsville the family that it was during that time. And so really appreciative of her work with those children. And then I appreciate another teacher of mine, Mr. Sprong, for the best practice and shared for Richards. Again, I think looking at, as a parent of children with traumatic pasts, holding them to an opportunity where they can excel and have accountability is something that we can scale across the district. And this is two back-to-back best practices with CSA Lincoln and Richards that are easily scalable that we can bring and being able to help our students that have that traumatic background. And I just want to thank the two or the couples that spoke for public speaking, Caleb for his bravery. It's not easy taking on public comment, and Crystal for her self-reflection and giving us that input. And I just appreciate everybody's engagement.
So I will add to thank you to the technology department. I don't know that I have hard data to back this up, but I am convinced that we have one of the best, if not the best, technology department in the state. On a personal level, I'll tell you that 5 minutes before you join a school board virtually is not the best time to change your password. But even when you do that, they come through and help you out. So, and to Ms. Humphrey, I want to thank you for sharing tonight, and I especially want to thank you for reading the book and sharing with us after you read the book. I appreciate that. And to add to the kudos of Sandy Watts, I have one Sandy Watts story that I want to share. At the risk of sounding political, when I was running for school board, she joined me at the German Township Fire Department in Taylorsville on election day. And I don't know how many years it had been since she taught at Taylorsville, but I swear over half the people that came up knew her. Nobody knew me, but they all knew her.
Okay, so on next board meeting, we have our strategic planning session on February 19th, 5:30 in a boardroom. So that's where we'll get some more information about Project 2030, Vision 2030. And then a regular board meeting on March 4th, 2024 in the terrace room right here. With that, I'll call the meeting adjourned. Everyone have a great night. Thank you.